and the speaker is Honorable James. Honorable James, you are 10 minutes. Start now.
Thank you, Chair. Also be kind to me. Thank you. General, thank you so much for being here today. I sit here and I thank God that they took your dockets. Because if they didn't take those dockets, we wouldn't have been privy to everything that you have told us. I want to start by referencing your media briefing that you had on the 6th of July. And the one thing that stood out for me, that continues to stand out, that shows me that you are not a politician, that shows your patriotism towards this country, is when you spoke. You didn't say their children, you said our children. When you reflected on the impact of drugs and these drug cartels has had on our communities and on our country, General, you said that the drugs are being distributed, and they are being distributed all over. And you said that as you were engaging these youngsters that contributes to our crime stats, you have realized that it takes courage to kill. It takes courage to murder. And you said, take away the drugs and they will become good citizens. Those were your words. You said, therefore, we need to get rid of drugs. God works in mysterious ways. You said the wrongdoing of General Mkhwanazi, the Pablo Escobar of South Africa, has led us to this. Because Pablo Escobar was a politician that captured the state, and that is where we find ourselves today. A lot of the questions here has been asked. There's nothing left for me to say. But I want to seek clarity with a few things. You said that at the end of the day, after you have exhausted all avenues.
Honorable James, let me warn you, because you are making a statement that your time is running.
Yes, I am. I'm saying, I'm going to my questions now.
That's the belief.
Yeah.
Look, what is going to save you if you go straight to questions? When I come to tell you that your time has run out, it will appear like, but I'm worried that the manner in which time is running. You know, once the sun goes towards setting, time also runs very fast.
Yes, yes.
So, please, I just want to advise you to use your time effectively.
You know, I'm going to get straight to the point, because you said that we need to uncover the rot in South Africa, right? Everything has been asked in terms of the technical questions. All that is unfolding. It is not about that political killing stars team. I want to ask you, number one, you referenced Brian Mkhwanazi as being politically connected. For the sake of the record, to which party was he connected?
It is my belief that when Brian Mkhwanazi came public and he spoke about being a member of the African National Congress, when the Minister of Police said he's his comrade, meaning that he's a member of the African National Congress, from the records we have at hand on our side, we know him as a member, as a person that maybe used to be, maybe of late is no longer, but he used to participate and being a member within that African National Congress.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned that payments were made to the ministers, the ANC ministers' account for the guests to travel. You mentioned January 8th celebration. What is January 8th?
The payments were not made to the minister. The payments were made to the account that Mkhwanazi provided to Matlala in relation to the payment of the transportation accommodation of the guest of the minister to the January 8. January 8 is well-known gathering of the African National Congress that takes place the first week of January in a year, and I think it used to be done on the 8th of January. That's why I adopted the name. Although this was not on the 8th of January, it was the weekend after the 8th.
Thank you. You referenced political involvement by Chief of Staff in Kabinda, right? You've seen him wearing political T-shirts. Of which party?
Of the African National Congress.
Do you believe General Sibiya's appointment was politically driven? And if yes, by which party?
I wouldn't know from the records we have at hand that the appointment of General Sibiya might have been done with the omission of some crucial evidence that they were supposed to look at. But the appointment is done by the National Commission, and I don't know the National Commission of belonging to a political party, so I cannot associate the appointment of Sibiya with a political party.
I quote, "The country, South Africa, will burn," right? As we sit here today, do you believe that our country has been captured? And if so, by which party?
I won't say that the country has been captured by a party, but the country has been captured by criminals.
by criminals
that are using politicians.
that are using politicians.
Yes.
Which party?
Oh, well, the ones that I know of are from the African National Congress. I don't know if there's others from the other parties.
You mentioned as well, I believe the citizens, the families and children of this country are worth fighting for. What drove you to say those utterances on the 6th of July? You also make mention of a bigger investigation. The bigger investigation here is drugs. Can you elaborate on that? And also when you say that you have done your analysis to show that many of the arrests that are being made, it is as a result. How did you do that analysis?
Honorable members, we as a police on quarterly basis release crime stats. Within our ministry, we've got analysts that will conduct analysis about the crime that has happened. For every arrest we make, we conduct an assessment as to why, the question as to why did you do this? What led into this? And especially with the shooting, the majority of shooting incidents we have in KZN in the area of Inanda. There's always been that why question. Why these boys do what they do? They're involved in crime, they are killing, they are raping, they're doing all that. But what makes them to be like this? Yes, families might not control them, and until we realize that they don't do these things when they're sober. And they do these things when they're under influence. So there is this energy behind them that drives them to do what they do. When they smoke that crack cocaine, they become animals. They become vicious, like a pit bull. They will not feel any pain. They fear nothing. That's what drives them into that. So that's when our conclusion was, these drugs changes the behavior of a child. And this child ends up being seen as a bad child. So until we stop what makes the child to behave in this fashion, we're not going to win the war. We'll end up killing everyone that we come across. But we're supposed to actually close the tap here on drugs so that the behavior of the child can change. Then there's no need for us to even arrest this person, let alone get involved in shooting incidents. I said it before, that when the police officer is involved in a shooting incident, it's a problem for us as management, because we must send this police officer for counseling. And he's off operation for a long period of time while he's debriefed, while we're getting his mental being to be normal again. Because if we don't do that, it catches up with this police officer later. And it affects him, it affects the family and everyone else. So we don't want to get into that stage of engaging in such confrontations. So that's why we identify that the root causes of our problem rest here. We have to do something as a collective on this one. Government must help us also in different departments.
Do you think we have a national crisis at hand?
Yes, we do. We do. Why I say that is because we have only one scanner in the port that takes about 3,000 containers into the country. We scan less than 10% of them as they come in. God knows what in those containers are. Children have been trafficked. Illicit goods are moving into those containers. We only have one scanner that sees what's inside when that truck travels on that road, on that entry.
Do you think that is intentional?
Executive must help us. If portfolio committee and everyone else that helps us to say, how are we prioritizing? What is your plan to deal with drugs? What about this? What about that? And where do you allocate your budget? Then we could be talking now. Instead of when we are saying, why are you buying that property? Why are you using the finance to go and invest in that event? Why don't you buy this resource? You have a truck picking up goods here in Cape Town. It travels from Cape Town with a container until it reaches deep in Johannesburg. It passes 10 roadblocks on the road because there's a lock on the back of that container. It doesn't get searched. Nobody opens it. It leaves Cape Town 1,500 kilometers to Johannesburg without being searched. And we don't have means to do it. And we need budget. It doesn't cost a lot of money to buy these scanners, but there's no will to buy them. And nobody pays attention. You talk. Only now that the management of the police is starting a process of procuring it. But we've been talking about this thing for donkey years. It's only now we were starting to do that. When ATDF back in the days would block the freeway, we going back at the private sector to help us with a breakdown to remove the trucks on the road. We still do today because government doesn't have tow trucks to remove a truck on the road. That's how bad things we have. And you cannot say there's no budget for it. It's us who prioritize it wrong. And when we have to account, those are supposed to hold us account, I think with respect, majority of them don't necessarily know the business we do. That are sitting as parliamentarians that must hold us accountable. If you don't understand the business of the department that you are managing, you take Mkhwanazi, you say he must be a member of parliament and he must hold a department of minerals and energy accountable. I have no clue what it takes to start a mine. So I won't hold people accountable about their safety and everything in the mine because I have no clue. So bring a member of parliament to be a member of the committee, portfolio committee of police, and he does not know anything about the police. So you won't hold the police accountable because he will ask the wrong questions, not the right questions. And then we get away with, and we look as if we are doing something and yet we're not doing anything.
Thank you, General. Do you want to please explain to us what is the difference, for purposes of the record and just to clear it with South Africans as well, the difference between intelligence, the division within SAPS, intelligence and counterintelligence?
The counterintelligence is a section within the division whose job is to look at us and look at the bad things and be able to establish if there's any risk, possible involvement in criminality by some of the officials within the police and other environments. That is counter. So they are proactive in doing things. Intelligence made out of different sections. Like I said, there are analysts, there are those that are giving you information up front, and they share things with you. And most of the time, counterintelligence dictate things before they happen. They go deeper undercover to pick up things, and they share with you. You will hardly come across a member that works under counterintelligence. It might be some of them that are here amongst us. You just never know. It could be some of the members of parliament here are agents of counterintelligence. They're here listening to who does what, who says what. They walk out here, they go into their hotel, and they go and give them information. That's what counterintelligence does. They operate like that. But they are within counterintelligence.
I want to ask, we know a lot about the composition, the mandate, the motivation, the case types, the dockets, how many there were, about the political killing stars team, right? We don't know much about the counterintelligence team. And that is actually where the focus should be at, because that is where all the chickens are going to come home to roost. What is the key case type that is being registered with that operation?
Counterintelligence, most of the cases they deal with organized crime cases. The unfortunate part, whatever they do gets accounted to the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. That's why you will not going to know about it, not unless you're a member of that side. When we have questions about the lack of intelligence, you make an example of about what happened in the rout of 2021. The question should be asked, where was counterintelligence on that? What was their role in preventing such from happening? And did they warn? Because they are supposed to warn. Did they warn us about this? If they did, where's the evidence of that? And what did we do about it? You're going to get that deposited within that structure, because that's where they report, that's where they account. They are totally working on the covert side of things. That's why you will not know it easily in public on what they do.
Another question. I got the feeling yesterday that you were onto something when you said that the head of the Western Cape, I think it was intelligence, was deployed to France to investigate.
Detectives.
The head of detectives has been deployed to France while the Western Cape is burning. Can you elaborate on that, why you made that comparison?
No, I was just indicating that no matter how much of the workload you have, the organization can still assign another workload to you. It's a common trend. I was responding to why is General Khumalo, while having the responsibility of the division, still has these other responsibilities of PKTT and the likes. Until such time the National Commissioner and engaging with him that this is too much to handle, then they will relieve him of those things. But he's still able to do it. It does continue doing it, especially if it's a project thing that is going to be short. I believe the one of France is something that perhaps shouldn't last more than a week. I believe. If it lasts longer, I wouldn't know.
General, since you were operating at national level at some stage, I cannot help but also wonder, if my memory serves me right, I think it was 612 victims formed part of the political killing stars team. Am I right? People that were murdered.
The cases.
Cases.
Yeah. Over 600.
Over 612
Yes.
murdered, and a task team was established.
No. The task team was handling that volume number of case dockets. The team would have been established with less of the number of...
With less.
Yes. But as they were working, they were picking up a lot of cases. Some of them are not necessarily political, but parallel to those or ad hoc cases.
Why do you think no task team has been established on the Western Cape when we're dealing with more than 800 murders per month?
I'm not sure if the Portfolio Committee on Police have been briefed about the police interventions in Western Cape Province. In as far as I could remember way back, and I will invite the Portfolio Committee Chair to maybe demand the financial expenditure and all the interventions that the police has ever done in the Western Cape for the past 10 years, if you need to. I think Western Cape has benefited the most. When I say Western Cape, maybe I'm speaking under correction, Cape Town, because the deployment has not been the rest of the province. Cape Town has benefited the most in terms of task team deployments to try and deal with this problem of gangs. Perhaps what is a problem is that our strategy to our employing to fight this is not working. We have resources deployed. As I'm talking to you now, there are members that are outside from Western Cape that are here. But what is the success rate of them? And what is the plan of them fighting this crime? Are you observing, is there any feedback coming to the committee with regard to the results that they are achieving? So those are the things that need to be interrogated. But the interventions are done extensively here in Western Cape. I think the two provinces that has benefited in the most with the longest number of deployments has happened is Cape Town and in Northern KZN, Mangus area. Like Northern KZN have always had deployments, the intervention with the cross-border in terms of vehicle crime. Same here in Cape Town. Those two have benefited the most in the past 10 years, if I can use that period, because I'm privy to such information. But much of the difference that these things are doing, KZN, there's been such difference, but I must say the difference came at a cost, because people that were involved, yes, they were arrested, but there was quite a lot of them that were engaged in a gunfight. Perhaps that helped somehow to minimize the problem in KZN. But in the Western Cape, you arrest these criminals. A youngster that was 10 years old 5 years ago is a gang leader. 5 years later, is part of the problem. And another one gets promoted, another one gets promoted. So that production doesn't stop here in Western Cape. The only problematic thing is the source of firearms that have been used. Another problematic thing, which I said, is the availability of drugs. You have a coastline. I don't know how many vessels are sailing past Western Cape. If you look at the resources we have as a police, at the border police, in terms of the capabilities of patrolling this coastline, it's not sufficient to police this coastline. It ranges from the North Langapan all the way to Southern Cape in George. We're not able to patrol. That's the first problem we have. Our resources on the water is not that strong. That's the first thing. Military is the same thing. And then secondly, we are not able to solve the problem in terms of stop and searches of things that are moving on our streets, so we can be able to identify illicit goods that are there. That's another weakness that we have. And beside the fact that we are not able to trace sometimes the source of these guns. Yes, majority of them are stolen from people who are licensed, but it doesn't end there. There's ammunition that comes with it. We have neighboring countries of late, Namibia, that had lost firearms, state firearms there. Some of those firearms were found in the Western Cape. How they were lost that side, and how did they come in here? It's question marks needs to be asked. When you are told that there are farm licenses that have been issued in CFR in Pretoria that are legally facilitated from Western Cape, Gerald Lincoln, may so rest in peace, worked on such cases in the past. They were one of the senior officers, Gerald Very and amongst them, that were end up painted as bad people because they were fighting these drug issues in the organization. But of course, they might have stepped on other people's toes and they became bad people. So these are the challenges that need to be interrogated as to what makes us to fail as an organization. So if the accounting is done at the national level, not at the provincial level, Provincial level is going to receive what the national level tells them. They are happy with it or not happy with it. Honorable member will end up in a confrontation with the Minister of Police where he shuts him up. That's a result to get. That because the accountability becomes a problem. The communities here expect certain things and those things that's supposed to be delivered are not delivered. It becomes a problem.
Thank you, General. So basically we are failing because there's no accountability and because of the many blockages.
There are many areas that we really have to sit down when we're doing the strategic planning and need to ask yourself a question. Where is our weaknesses? Identify the weaknesses. Is a weakness in the accounting side? Is a weakness in the strategy and planning? Is a weakness in resource acquisition? Where is a problem? Or you've implemented all these things, but it is a weakness in the upbringing and the family where people live, the environment where people live that allows such things to happen. It is this parliament that on this legislation that will allow someone to put up a shack anywhere he wants to, and it does not get removed not unless you go to court. And when one shack moves in, another one comes in, another one comes in, none of them are employed. They must survive. And the likelihood is that there's going to be criminality that they're going to do to make them survive. And for those that are earning a living from the very same informal settlement, they become victims of those that are unemployed. So it becomes an environmental area that we need to look at, that the police alone might not solve it. We have to look at what does the legislations that we have allow these things to. Because the number of informal settlements we see nowadays, as compared to the back in the days, you go to the rural areas, the vast of lands that are left untouched, because people have left those lands and went to the city looking for greener pastures. It creates an imbalance in the country. And we see it with the level of crime. All our crimes are centralized in the big cities where people are chasing employment. Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town. Walk out of that, you're going to find peace.
General, you may be asking, why am I asking all these community-based questions? Because when you said drugs are distributed and they're distributed all over, these cartels are operating, I'm trying to see if there's a link to what is unfolding in our communities. Hence my questions. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, no, it does.
I also want to say, on the 6th of July, when you made that briefing, took that unprecedented stance, what in the back of your mind, surely you had an objective and you thought that, like I said earlier on, all avenues has failed me. Sitting here today, do you believe that we have taken the right approach in terms of establishing this ad hoc committee as well as the Madlanga commission? Do you think that we will yield any results favorable to South Africans and basically to the news that you broke?
I believe that, and I know that you took the right choice. The speaker took the right decision, and the president took the right decision, and that allowed the investigations to continue. We see people now in court being arrested. We see some senior officials within the cluster being suspended, and that allows this investigation to continue. Had that not happened, and I must say again, had it not happened, we would have picked up bodies by now, because the war was imminent within the security people. It was imminent. So to prevent that, that's why we said, let's warn South Africans that when they walk the street and they see a blue on blue, then they must understand why. Because blue on blue should not happen. Because we should be fighting an enemy together. But now blue on blue is imminent, and they must not be surprised to what brings us there. So thanks to that intervention, that we didn't have to go there. That's why we have Mkhwanazi today wearing a suit, not camouflage. Because he toned down a bit, because he was already in that combat mode.
Thank you so much, General. I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable James. You have to thank me indeed, because I got very worried. General, thank you so much. Honorable members, it's now 18 minutes to 8 o'clock. We are going to break for dinner. We will come back at 8:30. And because today is the day of Honorable Shikele, if you can please allow her to be the first on the queue. Thank you so much. Let's go and enjoy our dinner.